Well, hello and welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast, emergency podcast edition. Here on the PHLY Phillies podcast, we are broadcasting live from the Xfinity Mobile Studios. And as always, all of our podcasts, including our emergency podcasts, are brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Tyler Zulli, Jamie Lynch, the small head of Paxton Zulli, because I don't have any childcare today. This is expected but still unfortunate news, Jamie.
Yeah, I am not scrambling to Bet365 right now, Tyler, to place a wager on the Phillies World Series odds. It's not to say it's impossible, but this is a devastating blow to the Phillies organization today.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Zack Wheeler's official diagnosis came down. He had a procedure over the earlier in the week that removed a blood clot from his right shoulder. Now a medical update from the Phillies that says he had a follow-up evaluation and received a second opinion this week after that successful blood clot removal. He was diagnosed with venous thoracic outlet syndrome, and recommendation is to undergo thoracic outlet decompression surgery in the coming weeks. Details of the surgery are forthcoming. Timeline of the recovery of this surgery is generally 6 to 8 months, which obviously on the surface means that Jamie, his season is over. Kind of what I was leaning to believe. I spoke to a couple different medical professionals who all work in sports medicine, and they all gave me varying timelines. Some said, I read a lot of them on Monday, so I'm not going to repeat all of them, but one said they worked with rowers in the past that recovered from this in 4 to 6 weeks. However, because of the fact that it is an overhead repeatable pitching motion, likely outcome was 6 to 12 weeks. And then I had a follow-up professional basically tell me that they spoke to somebody who once worked for the Pirates, and they said, again, because of that repeatable delivery and mechanics and things like that, because of it being overhead, they're likely thinking more 6 to 12 months. And then this news comes down today that it's 6 to 8 months for Zack Wheeler. So first and foremost, obviously, this goes beyond baseball. I'm glad they caught the blood clot. I'm glad they were able to diagnose it and remove it to kind of remove any doubt of further issues, because blood clots are super scary. But at the end of the day, the baseball reality is that Zack Wheeler's season is officially now over.
Yeah, blood clots are obviously nothing to play around with. I know there was a tweet going around from Zach's brother saying, thank you so much for the outpouring for my family, for my brother. We really appreciate the baseball community kind of rallying behind him. So, this entire emergency pod is with the preface that we're thankful and hopeful for a full recovery next spring training. He can ramp back up. But it's a devastating blow when you're talking about between the lines on the field, Tyler. Christopher Sanchez got himself to, as you did a VOD the other day on his Cy Young chances, he got himself to that next level. And with the decline of Nola, it was almost like a lifesaver. And you were putting out one of the best 1-2 combinations in all of baseball. And with a streaky offense that you can't really necessarily count on night in and night out, one thing you could count on in any 3 or 5 game series is Zack Wheeler and Christopher Sanchez taking the ball 1-2, and you feeling damn good about your chances.
Yeah, and I will say this. I still feel confident heading into a postseason series with Sanchez, Suarez, Luzardo. It's admittedly less confident.
Lefty.
Going to be a lot of lefty starters, right? And then where does Nola come into the fold? So I wanted to re-bring this conversation that I had up on Monday, where I read a study that was done by the National Library of Medicine about 5 years.
Look at you, a real aristocrat, diving into the academics.
Big work, right? I was reading words. I didn't know what they meant. But anyway, they diagnosed 26 players with thoracic outlet syndrome who also underwent the rib resection surgery, which is now what Zack Wheeler is likely going to do. It's decompression, it's resection. They recognized 26 different players in this study, and the age of the player during the study was 30 years plus or minus 3.5 years, which is basically right at the upper echelon of where Zack Wheeler is at 34 years old. Now, the good news about this, if you want to have good news in the day of a bad news, 21 of those 26 players, 81%, were able to return to play in Major League Baseball, and 17 of them returned to play for more than one season post-op. So the good news is, if Zack Wheeler wants to pitch again, if he wants to return to play at some point next year, there's a very, very good likelihood that he's going to do it. They said that they found those that underwent, especially pitchers that underwent TOS resection surgery. Basically, their innings pitched the next year went up immediately. And they also suggested that most of them returned to a performance level that was at least equal to where they were prior to the surgery. So the good news is if he wants to return to play, and obviously it's a big if with his age and him talking about maybe retiring after 2027. Anyway, if he wants to return to play, the very high likelihood is he will return to play.
Yeah, I mean, I can't deny that thought has crept into my head. You know, he's a guy that's kind of insinuated he doesn't want to play late into his career, and he wants to be a father. And I think he has 3 young kids, and he to me seems like the type of guy. And this is no like judgment on it, that could just walk away and go like, I don't want to risk this. I have a young family at home. I have all the money in the world. I'm comfortable. I'm fine. There's an insurance payout. Like maybe I just do a medical retirement. So that dark thought is in the back of my mind. Hopefully we're talking about this next spring training down in Clearwater with him ramping up and wanting to give it another run. But it's a big blow to a Phillies team that I really, with Stott looking more like himself, with JT looking more like himself, with some of these guys coming back into form, I was starting to, look, the NL is loaded, but I was starting to believe that they had a real puncher's chance to go out there and compete for a World Series. And I don't really necessarily feel that way right now.
Well, I think, the thing with what you just brought up with Stott returning to form and Marsh has had a really good second half.
Yeah.
JT's had a really good second half. The ceiling for this team still, I believe, is a World Series contender because you see it, the second wave of guys. Max Kepler's had a really good August. I think so. When you're asking for like,
he's doing that to slight me. I see you, Max.
All of us.
Yeah.
But I think, when you can pick up where you left off, like the other night, Sanchez pitches well. Kerkering doesn't, walks a couple hitters, gives up the 2 runs. JT Realmuto immediately picks him up. They win the game. Last night, JT with the big home run. Obviously, Duran blew the save. It is what it is. He's human. The guy's going to blow saves. But, like last night, they had an opportunity for a come-from-behind victory to win the game. So, like, this is a team that I think has the ability, the maturity, the veteran leadership to press on and do one of those, like, win one for Wheels type of thing.
Yeah.
Sure. I think if you're looking at it on a surface level, having Zack Wheeler versus not having Zack Wheeler is a definitive change of mindset.
All right, so let me put the Rob Thompson skipper cap on one Tyler Zulli. You said Sanchez, Ranger, Luzardo. Now, look, Aaron Nola's first start back. I don't think anybody expected the world from him. You have a 3-game series. Are you going lefty, lefty, lefty now? Are you hoping that Nola can give you something over the next month where you insert him? Are you calling up Andrew Painter for the month of September? What is Tyler Zulli, the manager, doing here with his rotation?
So I put out a video about this earlier in the week. Sanchez, clear-cut number 1. Don't overthink it. He's pitching.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, there are 1 of 2 guys that are going to win the Cy Young Award this year. It's him or Paul Skeens. It's likely going to be Skeens. I think Sanchez finishes second and has had an excellent year. Don't overthink it. To me, game 2, I still go Ranger just because of the playoff experience. There's a confidence level. There's a cool
onions.
When he's on the mound in the postseason, he's still really, really good. And then, I'm going Luzardo 3. Jamie, I think he's got this weird stigma about him because his ERA is like a 4.2, and he had those 2 really, really bad outings. But he's pitched 25 times this year. And
he's been good.
19 times he's given up 3 earned runs or less in 25 starts. 20
That's
of his
better than I would have thought.
Have been good. And if you take his 122 and a third innings pitched in the not 5 bad starts, he has a 2.08 ERA. The problem is in his 5 bad starts, he has a 17.38 ERA. So, like, when he's bad, he's been really, really bad, but he's been good way more than he's been bad.
Yeah. The family text chain fired up, and my cousin was like, well, Nola's got to step up. And I was like, I just don't really feel great about the odds of that happening. It's unfortunate because you're paying him a lot of money, and if you had Aaron Nola being some semblance of Aaron Nola this season, you would feel so much better about the direction of this team.
Sure. Yeah, I think, if he comes back and pitches well in the month of September, there's a renewed confidence there because his postseason success is 1-to-1. When he gives up home runs in the postseason, he pitches poorly. When he keeps the ball in the yard, he pitches really, really well. And we talked about that yesterday, actually, on the show, where it's like, do you have faith in him? It's like right now I can't because of long-term injury and poor performance prior to it.
Sure.
But if he has a good month, there's a restored confidence in Aaron Nola.
Yeah. I'm curious what they do with the call-ups here. I don't want to say Taijuan's leaking oil because he's had a really good year, the Taijuan-assance.
Well, I'll be honest. I think really the other night it was a bad first inning, but he settled in nicely.
Three-run bomb. He did settle in. He's having a really nice year.
Yes.
But, you probably want to I am curious about Painter. I know he struggled this year. I'd be surprised if it wasn't for injuries if he came up, but now it's at the point where it's like maybe you try him out for a couple games early in September and see. What do you think about that, Paxton?
He thinks his teeth hurt and he's congested and it's been a really rough day for this kid. But I will say this. I think in a perfect scenario, Aaron Nola returns to form and that's your 4. And you don't have to worry about is the Taijuan Walker start eminent in the postseason or not. But like I said all year, I tip my cap to the guy. He's been jostled around from bullpen to starter to bullpen to starter. And he's done it seamlessly as seamlessly as he can. He's worked in the cutter a whole lot more this year. He's been much, much better, I think, with that. He's kept the ball in the yard. He's not giving up as much hard hit contact. I think if you have to use him in a game this year, you feel a whole heck of a lot better than last year.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive what he's done this season. His $17.5, $18 million is a better spent amount of money this year than Aaron Nola's contract extension.
Well, yes.
I mean, think about that. Digest that for a second. Yeah. That's wild.
From a numeric standpoint, yes, you are.
If return on investment, Taijuan Walker equals better than Aaron Nola this year. That's wild.
But I will say this. I think the most important thing as we wrap this thing up, Zack Wheeler, health first and foremost, happy, safe blessings to him and his family on a safe surgery, a speedy recovery. I think from a baseball standpoint, I hope we get an opportunity to watch him pitch again because it would be sad if this is how his career were to end. But I think first and foremost, like the health of him is prior to number 1.
Absolutely. And selfishly as a Phillies fan, I hope there's more baseball left. I hope this isn't something that makes him ponder if it's worth it. And hopefully he's cleared and all tests are good for his future because Tyler, he's one of the best Phillies pitchers ever in their history of their organization. And to see this kind of get derailed right before the playoffs and another chance at a run, it just feels like baseball justice, like just hit him over the head with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, this sucks. There's no question about it. It sucks. Of all things that it could be, needing surgery, diagnosing a blood clot, there's a lot of just rolling down the hill suck effect to this all. And I hope I hope this team has the ability to kind of like Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, and rally around it and say, win one for Wheels, win one for.
So they made a shrine to Nick Foles in the locker room. Do the boys get the Zack Wheeler shrine like Joe Boo?
I don't know about all that, but yeah, I think this is still a good baseball team. I think obviously this impacts them dramatically, but I do believe that they still have a pretty solid chance with Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, Jesus Luzardo. Especially in a 5-game series.
Yeah, Chris Slemmer says in the chat, thank God we still have Ranger. Look, I fully believe that Ranger could leak oil between now and the playoffs, but once those lights become bright, he's got cold blood in those veins come postseason baseball. So I fully expect him to be great. I expect Sanchez to be great. Luzardo's had a really nice year. So you still have a puncher's chance, but man, this one stings.
All right, we're going to wrap this thing up because this child is now biting my hand. Eating is in full effect. Big thank you to Ethan Hartley for producing this on a moment's notice. Jamie, thank you for jumping on as well. As always, our PHLY Phillies podcasts are brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, never ordinary at Bet365. We're broadcasting live from the Xfinity Mobile studio. We'll talk more about this on the PHLY Phillies podcast on Monday at 1 o'clock. But until that time, have an excellent weekend. Enjoy the rest of the series. Nola Mitchell Parker tonight at 6 o'clock for Game 2 of this series against the Nationals. We'll talk to you on Monday right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. See ya.
We all silly like the man.